So the World Cup 2018 is about to begin, only 3 days until kickoff. I'm a huge football fan, so I'm very excited, even though my home country, the Netherlands, sadly hasn't qualified for this year's edition. Still very excited, but the main question though, who will win this competition? Who will be the world champions on the 15th of July? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Stay tuned. Hey all you football fans out there, Percy Jules here. So today we're gonna do a little preview of the World Cup 2018 in Russia. So who is going to win this competition? What I've done is I've made a top 10 of all the countries that I think have the best chance of lifting this trophy. I'm gonna go over all of them real quickly. I'm gonna start with the one that I think has the least chance of winning it, and I'm gonna end with the biggest favorite of them all. Okay, so let's go. Okay, let's start with the number 10. Number 10 on my list is Colombia. So 4 years ago in Brazil, they surprised a lot of people because they had a very good team with some very good talents. Well, 4 years have passed. They have evolved. Some of these talents are now playing at bigger clubs in Europe. Their biggest star arguably is James Rodriguez, who's now playing for Bayern Munich, if I'm not mistaken. I have to be honest though, the odds aren't exactly very much in their favor to actually win the cup, but you know, they could still surprise some people. So at number 10, Colombia. Okay, at number 9 we've got Uruguay. Well, Uruguay has a very talented group of players, a very talented generation. I have to say they have been around for a while. They have had some good results and they made a very good impression in the 2010 and the 2014 editions. But, you know, some of these players are coming towards the end of their careers and you might wonder, okay, can they still do it? Can they rise to the occasion one more time? Well, we're gonna have to wait and see. Anyway, at number 9, Uruguay. Okay, let's move on to the number 8, and that is Portugal. Okay, now Portugal, of course, are the current European champions. They have some really good players, and the one that stands out, of course, is their superstar Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think, to be honest, that they are potentially the best team in Europe or the world, but they played very well in the European Championship. They won it fair and square, so I won't take anything away from that. And also in this year's World Cup, they might upset some people. So at number 8, Portugal. Okay, let's talk about the number 7, and that is England. Well, the last time England reached the semi-final of the World Cup, that was 1990. So that is 28 years ago, and since then they never really performed very well at these big tournaments. The last few years though, it seems like some really good talents are emerging. And I have to say that 2 years ago at the European Championship and even 4 years ago at the World Cup, I thought that they would have performed better than they did. Obviously they didn't. But still I have some high hopes for this emerging generation, so at number 7, England. So moving on to number 6, and that is Belgium. Well, Belgium has actually had a very long period where they didn't even qualify for these tournaments. But now, since a few years, they've really made a transformation. And now they have a group of players, a generation of players that is incredibly talented. They're playing all over Europe at the bigger clubs, mind you. Probably the biggest stars, the best known stars also are Eden Hazard and Kevin De Bruyne. I have to say that up until now they haven't exactly performed to their abilities. You know, obviously they have the talent, but somehow the chemistry hasn't always been there. But I also feel that just this needs to happen and they will be a real contender. So at number 6, Belgium. Okay, we've reached the number 5 position, and that is Argentina. Well, if you think Argentina, obviously you think Lionel Messi. Arguably the best player in the world, certainly one of the best players in the history of the game. But Argentina is more than just Lionel Messi alone. They actually have some really great talents in the squad. Surprisingly, well, surprisingly to me anyway, they had a very hard time qualifying for this year's World Cup. But now they're here, I think they're still gonna be one of the teams that actually might go all the way. So at number 5, Argentina. Okay, number 4 is Spain. Well, Spain has had a very long history of underachieving that kind of came to an end in 2008 when they won the European Championship. 2 years later they won the World Cup, and 2 years later again they won the European Championship. So that was a very unique achievement. In 2014 though, they had a very disappointing World Cup, and 2 years later at the European Championship that wasn't much better. Still, I think they have one of the most talented group of players, and even though they are in a kind of transition, so some older players are at the end of their careers and they're bringing on some new talents, so they're in a kind of transition, and that is always difficult. Still, I consider them one of the bigger favorites to win the World Cup this year. Okay, let's enter the top 3, and at number 3 we've got Brazil. So Brazil still holds the record for winning the most World Cups. They won it 5 times. 4 years ago at the last World Cup in Brazil, that was pretty disappointing for them, even though they reached the semi-finals. That's not near good enough for Brazil. So now 4 years on, I believe that they have evolved. They now have a much more exciting team. Their main superstar is still Neymar, but Neymar individually has grown as a player. But they also now have brought in some other very good talents like Coutinho, like Jesus, and some others. So they might just have a better team than 4 years ago. I, for one, really expect a lot from them this year. So at number 3, Brazil. Okay, we've reached the number 2 position, and that is taken by Germany. So, Germany, of course, are the current world champions. 4 years ago, they were clearly the best team in the tournament. What is very typical of German football nowadays is that they have some really great talents, and they combine that talent with physical strength and with mental strength, and they also have a very well thought out tactical game. So the way they play football is sometimes almost flawless, especially on the big occasions. So they're always going to be one of the top favorites to win the tournament. So at number 2, Germany. Okay, number 1, so who do I think is the biggest favorite to win this year? And that, of course, is France. So what can I say about France? Well, they have arguably the most talented group of players, or at least one of the most talented groups. They're playing all over Europe at the biggest teams, so in Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, everywhere. 2 years ago at the European Championship, I already thought they were the best, if not one of the 2 best teams in the tournament. They reached the final, they lost the final against Portugal in extra time. Since then they have grown, they have evolved. They also have brought in some new talents like the amazing Mbappe. They also seem to be in a very good state of mind right now, so they seem to have everything going for them. The only thing that they need to do is just to win the World Cup. Well, of course, it's not going to be that easy for them, but if you ask me, so who is the biggest favorite to win the World Cup of 2018, I would say France. Okay, so there you have it. That is my top 10 favorite teams to win the World Cup this year. But I'm also very curious about your opinion. So what do you think? Do you agree with this top 10 or not? Do you think there are other teams that should be in the top 10? Do you agree with France taking the top spot or not? You know, whatever it is, let me know. Leave a comment. Anyway, I can't wait for it to start. Hopefully we'll see a great World Cup, and may the best team win. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.